Many of us know the beginnings of this story. The future of New Bedford was on a different track in the late 1950s, when the Old Dartmouth Historical Society established a committee to examine the future of the Whaling Museum. A commissioned study proposed that the museum, along with the Port Society, should adopt a program to stimulate community interest in the preservation of the area around their museum and properties. The years of decline and disinvestment in the downtown area were evident on and around the buildings that were touchstones to the storied past of the city that lit the world. That past seemed far and away, but the buildings were still here. The famed Antoinette Downing surveyed the buildings in the waterfront area in 1960, finding that 39 of them were of architectural or historical merit and deserved restoration. She also recommended that all local organizations and city government should join forces to form an overall organization to develop a plan for restoration. The seed was planted for what would become a remarkable story of preservation, partnership, creativity, resilience, and sheer dedication to community. In July of 1962, WHALE, the Waterfront Historic Area LeaGUE, was officially incorporated. Their name was their mission, and this small volunteer group was determined to save the historic buildings in the waterfront area. The names of those at that first meeting, Perkins, Delano, Dirksen, and Grinnell, would become synonymous with action and impact. And then the work started. From an intensive study to design a waterfront that should be used not as a museum but as part of a living city, to the restoration of the Benjamin Rodman House, to the Waterfront Historic District being designated a national landmark, the early years saw WHALE active and nimble. As urban renewal swept the country, WHALE saved buildings by literally moving them out of the way of the bulldozer, to be sold to owners who restored them. The reaction to the demolition and loss of historic buildings and history in New Bedford struck a chord that prompted one of the best sayings in preservation by WHALE's own president, Sarah Delano. "If you bulldoze your heritage, you become just anywhere." New Bedford certainly was not just anywhere, and WHALE's course set them at the forefront of historic preservation, community development, adaptive reuse, and public-private partnerships, all with the goal of keeping what could be called the very soul of New Bedford intact. Throughout the 70s, WHALE founded its first revolving loan fund and partnered with the city to utilize CDBG funds to invest in the waterfront district with cobblestone streets and bluestone sidewalks. The Robeson House was moved, albeit with one little sticking point, and a young man named John Bullard was interested in doing an MIT graduate study about urban renewal and its related problems. That study and relationship grew, with John being hired as WHALE's first agent in 1974. From here, high success, such as the Rodman Candle Works as a masterpiece of adaptive reuse, to deep lows, such as the 1977 gas explosion, and the loss of a recent WHALE property that was to be sold that very day. But like the tide's ebb and flow, so did WHALE. They faced lows and came back with renewed focus and ambition. By 1981, 25 properties had been processed through the revolving loan fund, with 18 of them under agreement or sold. By its 20th anniversary, WHALE had 2 large-scale projects underway at once, saving the Zeiterion Theater and the Roach-Jones Duff House. These projects were not without risk, as many predicted one, if not both, would fail. The Zeiterion project would later be called a 3-year learning experience that put WHALE almost $300,000 in debt. WHALE's dedication to these projects and involvement provided credibility to the community, and their eventual and enduring success has reinforced that. The 1990s would see one of the most ambitious endeavors in New Bedford yet, beyond saving the Grinnell Mansion. The long-time effort to create the New Bedford Whaling National Historical Park was gaining traction, and WALE played an active role in the plan for the park. They eventually donated the old bank building on William Street to the National Park Service for use as a visitor center. The establishment of a national park in an area that not one generation ago had been run down and disinvested was truly a milestone moment, and one that would put New Bedford and WALE on many more maps. WALE also embarked on educating the next generation about history, New Bedford, and its architecture within the local schools. WALE embraced partnerships by working with local nonprofits like the New Bedford Historical Society on the Nathan and Mary Johnson House, to the City of New Bedford on the redesign of Route 18, to assisting real estate and business owners with their own property redevelopments. For its next chapter, WALE looked outward from its downtown roots and into surrounding neighborhoods. This was amplified when it became a community development corporation in 2015, opening more doors to resources for projects and operations. These resources enabled projects like the Co-Creative Center, the Howland House, home restorations along Pleasant Street, the Port Society Complex, and of course, First Baptist Church. In 2022, WALE had leveraged over $15 million in funds to complete 11 preservation projects that created affordable and transitional housing, cultural venues, and commercial spaces. WALE grew their partnership capacity and role by working with other nonprofits to help them restore and steward their own historic properties. A remarkable example of this is the ongoing work with the Cape Verdean Association in New Bedford on their rehabilitation of the historic Strand Theatre as a cultural community center. WALE brought our expertise in historic preservation, development, and tax credits to assist local businesses with their projects, like LaFrance Hospitality and the owner of the Kilburn Mills. Throughout its history, WALE has brought not only the expertise of its staff, but also its board to our projects and our broader mission. As an organization in service of New Bedford and as a CDC, it has been a priority to reflect the community as well as the services and skill set that intersect with our mission. Each of our executive directors brought their unique talents to the organization, be it political savvy and vision, advocacy, education, construction and development, architecture and preservation know-how. WALE's directors and our staff have all left their mark. The question now is, where do we want to go? The New Bedford of 2024 does not look like the New Bedford of 1962, 1972, or even 2002. WALE's touched over 70 projects and helped craft the landscape that people see when they traverse through New Bedford. WALE's continued advocacy and education has resulted in a populace that gets that historic preservation is part of the community. It is the economy. It is a part of discussions about the future. If WALE's history is any indicator, we will rise to the challenges, we will adapt, we'll learn, and we will grow to foster another generation who takes pride in the place they call home. This is truly a new beginning for WALE, and our role in the city will be needed more than ever, as major plans, initiatives, and changes lie ahead. How can we be a better leader, educator, connector, and advocate for preservation and for New Bedford? How can we maximize our impact while sustainably growing for the future? How can we partner with others to strengthen our collective efforts for the city and its people? Because our work, at its core, is about the people who live, work, and experience the places we restore, revive, and touch in a way that will ensure their history endures, and that New Bedford will never be just anywhere.